Aloha. Okay. Hold on 1 second. So, it's one of my favorite days ever because cloudy days are just my favorite days. Minus the rain, but I can do some sprinkles as long as I don't have to go outside. But I was about to read my son's I Ching. And I was like, well, I've had this, and this is the book I'm talking about, The Complete I Ching. It's huge. And I don't even know, I think I got this for maybe 10 cents at the library a while ago. Oh no, my oldest son bought this for me when we went down to my daughter's orientation in Tallahassee. So they have Goodwills there, but they're just bookstore Goodwills. And he got this for me. Then I forgot all about that. But anyway, this is the book. You see it? So if you can find it, I would get this book if you're interested in I Ching. Like seriously. The only reason I say this is because nothing I have ever did on my journey, any path I've ever crossed, has been a matter of fact area to get the answers. For me, it hasn't been a lead me, lead me, lead me. I get like straight to the source. But even in my life, when I was not on this side of the fence, I was on the other side of the fence. I never had to speak to 100 people and say, hi, good morning, how are you? I always knew the owner of the club. I was just always, anyway. So The Complete I Ching. So I really never even went through this book. So I'll just go through the book a little bit. I just go straight to casting. So I guess I'll give a little history because some people even know what this is. Or really we can learn together because I just cast and I've just watched videos and started casting. So anyway, let's see if we can see. Okay, I know you probably can't read it. So as we go through, so this Complete I Ching marks the first time that an eminent Chinese scholar has translated the original ideographs of the I Ching into English. For more than 3,000 years, the I Ching has been the most important book of divination in the world. Revered by billions of Chinese as the classic of classics and consulted as a source of ancient wisdom, it has been embraced by the West in the last 50 years, but always translated by Westerners who brought their own cultural biases to the work, distorting or mismeaning. That's kind of like me with tarot even. Like this deck. This was supposed to be, okay, I'm probably going to get all the names messed up, but there was a Golden Dawn order. And it had Aleister Crowley, which is the Thoth Tarot, who birthed that. Then it has Rider-Waite, which is Arthur Edward Waite, who birthed the Rider-Waite system. There was another guy starting with an M, Marcus or something. He never made a deck, but he made all these, like gave sneak peek in Tibetan to like the real truth, but he never like sold out and made a deck. And then it's the Marseille deck came. Well, the Marseille deck was initially first. Oh, my box is getting messed up. So anyway, that's a whole nother story for another time. But it kind of reminds me of how tarot is and how it got watered down and distorted. And now all these tarots are nude and this and that when it doesn't even have to be that. Like it got all watered down and twisted and turned. But of course, we're visual beings, so we're going to go off of looks, and everything's about making a fiat dollar. Because if it wasn't about making a fiat dollar, why are all these spiritual teachers and leaders charging? Even Ralph Smart is making a membership, and you're going to have to pay to see his videos to be a member. So it's like, why does everybody get to such a plateau and then start charging for this stuff? Or these spiritual teachers that know they see good students, but if they don't have the fiat dollar, they don't teach them. I just don't understand that. So I leave all lines open, and everything always just really always works out for me. So whatever I do, I don't never say, oh, I need $69 for this, or I need, you know what I mean? So anyway, that's Marseille. Right now we're doing I Ching. Okay. Oh my God, I look like grandma. So it says, so anyway, this is about Master Alfred Hung, is a professor of Taoist philosophy and former dean of students at Shanghai University. He studied the I Ching, a forbidden book at the time, in secret with one of China's greatest I Ching masters, only to be imprisoned during the Cultural Revolution in 1966 and sentenced to death. While imprisoned for 13 years, he continued his practice of Tao Chi and meditated on the I Ching and found the strength, strength to survive. Released in 1979, he immigrated to the United States, where he discovered that no I Ching existed in English that emphasized the unity of heaven and humanity and the Tao of change, as the Chinese text does. The complete I Ching is the product of his desire to bring the authentic classic of change to the West. To the Chinese, the I Ching is nothing without the commentaries on it by Confucius, their most revered sage. Previous editions have not paid proper attention to these commentaries, known as the 10 wings. But the Chinese say that the I Ching needs the 10 wings to fly. With the 10 wings restored to their central place by Master Hung, the I Ching at last flies in English. So that kind of reminds me of the Bible. Remember King James and his version? Okay, well, the Bible was initially, did I make a video about the languages from Anglo-Saxons all the way down to the Phoenicians, and how, the Phoenicians to the Anglo-Saxons, how this whole history went, and then the Hebrew, and then Hebrew broke it up into Greek and Latin, and then, so say Jesus. There was no J in Hebrew. We all get that. We all went down that journey. So we say Yeshua. But it got translated from Hebrew to Greek. And then it got, so it's in a Greek language now. And then however they translated it to Greek, we got it from that Greek language to English. So you understand how that's like a missing middle piece? Because I say, do we have the butter? Or however we say stuff. Maybe Latinos will say it all a whole different complete sentence structure. So you have to, that's just one more way of confusing. So anyway. With the 10 wings restored to their central place by Master Hung, the I Ching at last flies in English. Other contributions of this translation include a new emphasis on the intricate web of inner relations among the names and sequence of the 64 hexagrams. And really what really brought me to I Ching was because I did a whole thing with human design. That's a whole nother video. So other contributions to English include the emphasis of the intricate web of interrelations among, hold on. 64 hexagrams, the presentation of the original poetic style, the introduction of several new methods of divination, and special information on historical events out of which the I Ching was born. Okay, so most people that do I Ching cast for like, I don't ever really have specific questions. I just want to see what's my underlining tone for the day. So I have this. And that's just because I like Oracle and Tarot. But even when I cast, I don't cast like how this is supposed to be cast. When I cast it, oh my gosh. And this book is great. But when I cast it, I still use the, you can see that, whoops. I cast it still with the coins, but you can use any coins. You can use pennies. You can use anything to do it. But when you do it this way, and I just have these because they're visualized. So see, it still has the hexagram on it, trigram. Remember, you start bottom to top. Then it has the changing lines. Then it has like keywords. You can still read it. And then in the book, it has where the lines change. So say I cast your I Ching and you're 13 before we changed lines. You can just look at that, or maybe you would feel that and that resonate with you. I don't know. Some people just like to see. And then it has like keywords. It's just like, it's just an Oracle deck. But that's why I got this. I'll give you an example in a minute. I just wanted some people, really, it's not even probably for anybody because my kids watch this stuff. And since I do their I Ching, maybe one of their boring nights, they'll actually sit and listen. So I like this because this is translated with all the connotations, or the 10 wings as they call it, from Chinese directly to English. He tried to make the book little, but as you see, so anyway, it says, so this was copyrighted in 1998, which is a good year, the year my daughter was born. During this great time of change, this book is dedicated to those who are longing to change and ready to change to a meaningful and successful life of abundance and happiness. If some years were added to my life, I would dedicate 50 years to study of the book of I, and then I might come to be without great fault. Confucius at age 70. So, oh my gosh, I will, if I start reading, I'm gonna read the whole damn book. But really, there's only to read to like page 6 because he goes straight to the upper canon. He goes straight, and they have good meanings. These are all the, when you cast, what they would be, and then the lower canon, or the, this is part of the hexagram. So let's see. I don't know if I want to read that. So I'll kind of just tell you a little bit about this man. He does say the I Ching is a book one should keep close at hand. A small book is easier to carry and have readily available for attaining ancient wisdom as guidance in daily life. Oh gosh, there's just no way around the stuff I do. Okay, it says, I came from mainland China to the United States in 1980. After 60 years in America, I have found that numerous people in the Western world are interested in the I Ching, the Book of Change. But there was a different story in its native land. From the time I was very young, I heard that the I Ching was a Tian Shu, a heavenly book. Without the verbal instructions of a competent scholar, no one could understand it. After the communists took over China in 1949, the I Ching was denounced as a book of feudalism and superstition. It was banished from the market, and reading it was not allowed. Well, that sounds familiar. In the early 1960s, before the so-called Cultural Revolution, Dr. Tin Yinghun, a most eminent Chinese physician in Shanghai, Professor Lin Yinwen, a well-known professor of Chinese classical literature, and I attended the Revered Master Yin's private gatherings, at which he taught us the I Ching. It was absolutely an underground right-wing advocates. If our meetings had been discovered by any Communist Party member or the police, we would no doubt have been in prison. Master Yin was more than 80 years old. He sensed that a calamity would soon befall China. Okay, wait a minute. He sensed that a calamity would soon befall China, and he wished to pass his teachings on before he died. He offered on his own initiative to teach us the esoteric knowledge of the I Ching, which he had inherited from his own revered master. As we studied, the situation in China grew worse, and our hearts grew heavier and heavier. We realized that many families would be broken up and countless people would be persecuted. Although we knew that after the long night, there would come the dawn did not come soon. After 2 years, Master Yin and Dr. Ting passed away one after the other. Professor Liu lost his desire to live. He attempted suicide several times. Although I encouraged him to persevere, deep in my heart, I thought that those who had already died were the blessed ones. They had ended their sufferings and were able to enjoy everlasting peace. Those who were still alive had to face every kind of unimaginable suffering and strive for survival. According to the I Ching, every country has its destiny and every person has his or her fate, but everyone still has freedom to make their own choices. Of the 4 scholars, I was the youngest. The others were of my father's generation. Being with them, I realized that I had much to learn and experience. From the bottom of my heart, I chose to live as long as I could and see the destiny of China, no matter what hardships might ensue. In July 1957, I was forced to do manual labor every day, and in September 1966, I was put into jail. During 9 years in jail, I was interrogated almost every day about my anti-revolutionary activities. Because I had graduated from a missionary school and had been the principal of a Christian high school, my captors pressed me to confess that I was an American spy. On every occasion, I denied the charges against me. At last, they became desperate and sentenced me to death. However, because I was a popular figure with the Chinese people, they did not dare follow through immediately. Though each day they told me that I would be put to death. During 22 years of confinement, although I could not remember the 64 gua or hexagrams, I fully comprehended the Tao of I, the essence of the I Ching, which holds that when events proceed to their extremes, they give birth to their opposites. Every day I read the official 6-page newspaper as carefully as I could, not missing a single word. As I saw the situation in my country deteriorating, my heart became lighter. I knew after the long darkness, there would be a dawn. When the darkness grew darker and darker, the dawn grew closer and closer. The I Ching is a very ancient book. It existed more than 2,000 years before Confucius, which was 551 to 479 BC. In the beginning, the language of the I Ching was simple and easy to understand. Unfortunately, this ancient language became antiquated long ago. At that time, the number of Chinese characters were small. As a result, many characters had the same form but entirely different meanings. On the other hand, many characters had different forms but shared the same sound. Their usage was interchangeable. Thus, the text is open to many interpretations. Moreover, the old Chinese written language had no punctuation. Depending on how one punctuates a clause or a sentence, different meanings appear. For this reason, even the Chinese are rarely able to truly and fully understand the I Ching without the verbal instruction of a competent teacher. When I came to the United States, I was surprised that there were so many translations of the I Ching in English. I cannot imagine how these translators all found the I Ching scholars and did the decades of study necessary to truly learn the I Ching. To the Chinese, the I Ching is like a holy Bible written by the 4 most honored sages in our history: I Ching, the Duke of Zhao, and Confucius. The Chinese translation of Holy Bible is Shang Qing. Shang is equivalent to holy, and Qing means classic. Chinese understand that Qing is the Tao, the truth, the holiest of the ancient books. And because they revere and respect the sacred writings of the Jews and the Christian church, they honor the Bible by calling it Qing. For this reason, Chinese translations of the Holy Bible never depart from the original text. On this ground, I think that any translation of the I Ching should not depart from the original text, otherwise it is not the I Ching. Among all the translations, Richard Wilhelm's, published in English in 1950, and James Legg's, published in 1882, are the best. But all the translations, according to my Chinese point of view, are not absolutely true to the original Chinese I Ching. They are westernized. To smooth out the English or to capture a concept, they have added their own understanding of the text in a way that limits possible interpretations of a work that is famously open-ended. The ideal translation should be English in form, but Chinese in essence. As a book of divination, Confucius commentaries are crucial. The Chinese call Confucius's commentaries the 10 wings. They believe that the I Ching depends on the 10 wings to be able to fly. In other words, without Confucius's commentaries, the I Ching cannot be understood. This is a typically Chinese Orthodox point of view. Consequently, every time I read translations that show little concern for Confucius's wisdom, I feel that something is missing. Sometimes when I have used English translations to divine, I have felt so depressed that I have no desire to do it again. When I use the Chinese text, it is entirely different. It is entirely different. There is always hope. The I Ching is a truly profound book. It is the source of much Chinese culture. Originally, the I Ching was a handout for divination. After Confucius and his students had written the commentaries, it became known as a book of ancient wisdom. It is a book that not only tells, tells one who consults it about the present situation and future potential, but also gives instruction about what to do and what not to obtain, to obtain good fortune and to avoid misfortune. But one still retains free choice. The guidance is based upon comprehensive observations by natural laws, by ancient sages, and their profound experiences of the principle of cause and effect. Like, this is just so mind-blowing to me. Like, in 1979, the Chinese Supreme Court declared me innocent. I was released from prison weighing 80 pounds and barely able to walk. I decided to emigrate to the United States. During my 16 years in America, I have known people who have devoted their whole hearts and minds to consulting the I Ching, but they could not apprehend its authentic essence or embrace its ancient wisdom because an authentic translation was not available. I waited for a translation that would truly reveal the essence of the book. My wish was not fulfilled. When I moved to Maui in July 1993, my plan was to write a series of 7 books of Taoist Ching Kung. One morning early in July during my meditation, a voice came to me urging me to make a new translation of the I Ching. At first, I ignored it. I had never entertained such an idea. I had doubts. I understood that to work on it, one first had to translate the ancient dead language of the original ideographs into contemporary Chinese, then translate it again into English. If I made the commitment, the task would be extremely arduous, aka hard. Nevertheless, the voice grew louder and louder. I could not escape it. I had an obligation to work out a translation of the I Ching based entirely on Chinese concepts. I began to realize that during his last years, Master Yin's proposal to teach me the I Ching was not accidental. There was a reason. I sense now that in this great time of change, when people are longing to transform and the situation is ripe, a new translation of the I Ching based upon ancient Chinese wisdom and experience might be helpful for those making their own choices to enter the 21st century with confidence. After I accepted the challenge, the first thing I decided was to keep the book small. And this is his book. Oh my gosh. A small book is much easier to work with. Confucius said that the I Ching is a book one should keep close at hand. A small book is easier to carry and have readily available for obtaining ancient wisdom as guidance in daily life. Obviously, I failed in this goal. The project grew beyond my expectation. As I made several revisions, the book became bigger and bigger. By the 7th revision, the book was larger than I could have imagined. The original I Ching consists of only 64 decisions made by King Wen and 386 Tao texts composed by the Duke of Zhao. The decisions are brief summaries of the meaning of each guy. Not right, G-U-A. Dense in symbolic meaning, but sufficed in style. The Tao texts are analysis employing parables and metaphors of each of the 6 lines in a given Gao, which correspond to the 6 stages of a particular situation. Although there are less than 5,000 Chinese characters translated into English, it is almost 40 pages. However, this teeny book reveals an ancient Chinese cosmology of heaven and human beings integrated into one union. And it further reveals the Tao of change, or in Chinese terminology, the Tao of I. These 2 concepts have been the source of Chinese culture and have permeated Chinese thinking for thousands of years. To truly understand the original language and the spirit of the I Ching, one must realize that its structure is extremely well knit and its wording is absolutely strict. Most translations do not understand this linkage. As I tried to share the unique features of the I Ching as clearly as I could, the book expanded. Finally, I realized that a complete volume that unfolds the essence of the I Ching is preferable. Once readers have come to a true understanding of the symbols, names, texts, and interrelations of the I Ching, they can fly on their own wings, ignoring the commentaries and explanations. Like, seriously. You know what? I kind of knew what the I Ching was before I started doing it, but the messages are just so I'll give an example. Because this book, I just like this deck too. But you don't need this deck because all these answers are in this book. So, expounding the Tao of I, understanding the structure and meaning, the sequence and names of the guy. So this is the 10 contributions of this translation. Ancient Chinese ideographs as explanations of the name of the guy. Insights from the historical background. Unifying the translations of the judgment. Introducing simple ways to consult. Understanding the situation. I really don't want to read all this. So I'll just read this little bit because it's short. So this says how to use this book. The following 4 pages provide a key to understanding the elements that make up each character of this book. Refer to the glossary for more detailed explanations. About the translation. The I Ching is a book that speaks in images, not words. The ancient Chinese languages was composed of ideographs or pictures. They do not connect in the same way that English speakers think of words as doing. There is no tense, gender, plural, article, preposition, or punctuation, and quite often no subject or object. The beauty of this ancient language and of the I Ching is that it merely presents pictures and lets the reader's own imagination resonate with the scene. Translating these sentences into proper English is impossible without seriously limiting the wealth of possible meanings. People consult the I Ching for guidance. Every word added or neglected by the translator can influence readers' actions. This places a huge moral responsibility on the translator to not lead readers unnecessarily. The I Ching is a work of poetry, not prose. It has its own oracular language and conceals its meanings in metaphors, parables, and images. There is even a matching of word and word order, and sometimes sound within the lines. To preserve these unique features of the I Ching is the translation I have followed. To preserve these unique features of the I Ching in this translation, I have followed 2 Chinese principles. The first is Shu Bu Zhao, which means narrative, don't write. In other words, when trying to convey another writer's thoughts, simply narrate them. Do not write any of your own. I spent 3 years making this translation understandable, and was very satisfied with it, but unconsciously I had added my own interpretations to it. The profundity of the I Ching is such that it sparks insights in all who read it, and it needs no help doing so. In my final reversion, I sought to eliminate all my interpretations and worked hard to restore the I Ching's pure nature. The second principle is the Ningxin Buddha, which means better to stick to the truth than to make translation smooth. This principle was originated by the Chinese literary giant Liu Xing, who translated many Japanese works into Chinese after Dr. Sun Yat-sen's Republic of China was established. The lines in this translation are not always smooth, but they are always true. Once readers understand reading the I Ching does not mean reading sentences that make sense, but rather creating their own personal understanding from archetype, poet images. I believe they will not be frustrated by the lack of proper English and, in fact, will come to value the I Ching as a great open-ended storehouse of ancient wisdom in the same manner that the Chinese always have. Oh my gosh, this is just, and we're not even at page 6 yet. We're not even on page numbers yet. So, oh my gosh, look how this does. Do you see this? Oh my gosh. And I just start casting coins and I don't even really know. You know, if you know me, you know me. When I got out of religion, I followed King James to 1606. I followed all the way back to Emperor Justinian because I wanted to figure out what people were dying over. I followed that Bible all the way back when reincarnation was still in the Bible before Constantine's wife took it out. I followed that Bible, King James version, all the way back to when Constantine was 17. So, and when the papacy came into play at 586, and just believe me, I follow stuff back to the source. Maybe that's why I'm in such a close relationship with source. So that's going to be fun, but I guess I need to go through it. Between Heaven and Humanity. Oh, we're just now getting to the introduction. A book of divination, a book of wisdom. The structure of the book, the Ching. The original I Ching contains about 4,900 Chinese characters. Okay. Between Heaven and Humanity. So I hope, well, most people that's probably even watching me know this. Okay, the commentary. The commentary comprises 10 chapters known as the 10 wings. Wings means to assist. The 10 wings serve as supplement to the text, helping people understand the I Ching. 10 wings are attributed to Confucius. Flying with the I Ching, methods of divination, understand the symbols. To understand the I Ching, one should first be familiar with the symbols. Each of the 64 primary symbols of Gao represent a unique situation. Yeah, that's just not, I don't know if I could ever have enough time in this lifetime to remember the symbols. So they call it the greater yang. I call it the old yang, when it's going to be a line that changes, and that's when you cast and 3 come up in a row. So he calls it the greater yang, or the lesser yang, or the lesser yin, or the greater yin. And that's just when it's a line that's going to be moving. So say I'm reading your I Ching. I'll cast these 6 times. You can use pennies. Just make it heads or tails. To me, tails is the yin, and that's a value of 2. And head is yang, and that's a value of 3. So what's my head? This is my head. So say I'm casting these. You just shake them up. You can be thinking of a question if you have a question, or you know me, I just want to hear what people have to say. And then you drop them. And this is, oh, so we have off rip an old yang. And old yang to me is 3 of the exact same things. So 3 heads, basically. So this would be a moving line. So when I drew the line, remember you start at the bottom. When it's a straight line, I just put a dot in it. That's how I know it's a moving line. If it's a moving line and it's a yin, and that means I cast 3 tails, I just do it like this. People do it different, but I did that wrong. I shouldn't have put that line there. I should have, because you go up like this. So let me give you an example. As a matter of fact, you guys can do a reading with me today. I'll just do my own. Let me see if my live chat. And you know what? When I live chat, I might just make a thing, because you guys, when I live chat, that's because I only know how to make these videos like this. I don't, unless I do it by my phone, and then I have like no time. So I never can see the live chat. And you know what? Hi, Ramsey. You might have left already. Okay. So we'll just see what this has to tell me. So what's a message for me today? Let me tear a piece of paper out. I don't know what this is, but I was looking into that 3D printer stuff. Okay. And then I'm going to look at the comparison in the book to see what the book says. So that was 2 heads and a tail. Now, when I do this, say I have 2 heads and a tail, minority rules with me. So if I only have 1 of something, that's what I'm going to say this line is, if that makes sense. So minority rule is how I cast my I Ching. I'm sure everybody does it different. So with this one, I have 2 heads. I don't know if you can even see that. And a tail. So the minority rule, so that's a yin line. And a yin is a yin. Excuse me. Now I have, I have 3 yangs. So we'll say 3 heads. And that's going to be a moving line. And that's called an old yang. So I'll put this. So I'm going to have 2 different meanings. Whoops, that line should be straight. So it's my old yang. I do it like this. Remember? Put the dot in the middle, because that's going to be a moving line. And when I say moving line, I'll show you. I'm pretty sure you guys know, though. Ooh, this is going to be a good message, isn't it? So now I have 2 yangs, or heads, and 1 yin. So I go by minority. Gosh. So that's a yin line. What do you want to tell me, Chinese? Tao. Ooh, that was an old yin, because I got 3 tails. That's another moving line. So the old yin, I can't remember. Do I put the line X? Line X. That's my old yin. So these 3 right here, because remember, we're making a whole hexagram, right? So, my gosh, help me. So anyway, this is what I have so far. And I have 2 moving lines. So I'm going to have to read a lot more. Now I have to go through the, I'll just show you when I'm done. I'm trying to keep this simple. Ooh, I got an old yang. What's all this changes I have going on? That's an old yang. 3 heads. So the old yang, because it's going to be changing. I do that with the dot. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one. And of course, I get another old yang. 3 heads. So that's another moving line. So now these 3 lines and these 3 lines, this is my hexagram. So now these bottom 3 lines, because you reread bottom to top. So these bottom 3 lines is a, is that a guy? G-U-A. I don't know how to pronounce it. And the top 3. So let's see. And then I'm going to show you, because that's a whole meaning. I'll just show you in this book. It's going to be easier to find. So you see this? Here's a map. And then what I'm going to do is find the first 3, which is space, line, space, space, line, space. Where's it at? Space, line, space. So that's this symbol, which I have no idea what it is, but I'll tell you in a minute. This is the Gao. He's saying that we should know by heart. So my space, line, space is this, but I don't know the symbol. So I'll tell you in a minute. And the other one is space, line, line. So now I go over here and find the space. What one is it? Space, line, line. Space, line, space. Okay, right here. So now, can you see that? Now what I'm going to do is bring this one down to here and this one over, and that's 59. That's my first. But remember, I have a lot of old yings and old yangs, so this is going to be changing because I have moving lines where there's that X and those dots, the old yin and the old yang. Those are moving lines. So I'm going to read the first one, which is a lot of moving lines. So I have line 2 is a moving line. 3, 4, 5. I have 4 moving lines. Like, seriously, this is just, I cannot make this up. So that's 59. So let's see. I really don't, I guess I should go to the symbols to even see, because it's so much more than this just to be doing this, as you see. Dispersion. Make sure I got the same thing. Line, broke line. Yep, this is mine. So 59 is dispersion. And then I'll read through that because this is what it comes up with. So let me tell you what signs I have. This and the thing. So the signs I had were oh, somebody else popped in. You guys are so nice. Okay, so the one I had, axis of the east is the first one. Second, sun. Water and fire balance each other. So let me see. This book is really good. So I had the first one, my first trigram is the abysmal. Chinese name, Kian. Attributes, facing, danger, difficult, emotional, obstructing. Action, to risk. Familia, second sun, developmental, fetal, animal, pig, water is the elemental, anatomical is ears, seasonal, winter, directional, north, numerological, 6. Do you understand this? Like, this is just this is ridiculous. That's why it's a whole study, and people really, I just know an inch deep worth of a mile worth of stuff. I can lead you to this. You can, if this something resonates with you, dive deep. So what is my other one? A little swirly thing. And this is jade green. And my first hit, the top, this is the one I'm looking at now. This top 3 lines. And that is the gentle wood/wind, Chinese name sun, attributes penetrating, subtle, influencing, dispersing, action to penetrate, familiar, first daughter, developmental, adult, animal, cat, elemental, air, anatomical, thighs, seasonal, summer, directional, southeast, numerological, 5. Do you understand all this stuff you have to know? Let me just give you an example. So I cast the I Ching, and my first number before I changed the lines is, what was it, 59. Dispersion. So my message, so what does this mean? Does this mean the message I am now before my lines change? I don't know. Let's just see. Somebody can chime in. Okay. The time of dispersion is a subtle but potent influence that works towards wholeness. It has the capacity to melt, scatter, or dislodge whatever obstacles and rigidities have been hindering unity. When communication breaks down between people, the relationships suffer. In the same way, there can be a communication breakdown within the self. When we have compartmentalized and denied our own feelings or thoughts, withdrawal and alienation are the result, whether the symptoms manifest within ourselves, in our works, or in our relationships with others. In the most profound sense, the opportunity presented by a time of dispersion is to reunite us with spirit, reawakening our capacity to experience wonder and igniting our desire to express the inexpressible. Dissolving any rigidity that has been in place for some time will require a lot of patience and tact. It makes little difference whether the symptoms lie within your own thinking or have been generated by external circumstances. The effect is the same. You have become cut off from your own natural flow. And as a result, disharmony has grown in your relationship to your work, your partner, or your own nature. Becoming aware that these are snags in the communication flow is the first step toward restoring the lost harmony. Oh my God. This is just ridiculous. And it's so true. That's why I'm fasting, because I just feel so disconnected. I've been eating chips and I'll just do whatever. And I just really just need to cleanse my body, a real for real master cleanse. But this new moon is I'm just cleansing just to start, to make effort. You must also have a sincere willingness to preserve toward reconciliation, however long it takes. Be aware that the process of dissolving rigidity benefits from warmth, but not from a blowtorch. No matter how intolerable the situation may have become, applying too much pressure will have the opposite effect from what you desire and will only provoke defensiveness and resistance. Your first task is to back away from the tangle to gain some perspective on what it takes to untie the knots. If you find yourself in a pattern of reacting and placing blame, immediately pull the plug on it. Returning to openness and trust means being strong enough to withdraw from anything that perpetuates the status quo. Indulging in temper tantrums and threats will only make things worse. Real strength is possible only when we trust that unity can be restored through gentleness. A sincere attempt to understand the other's feelings, or your own for that matter, can disperse all kinds of emotional logjams and melt the hardest heart. Once you have found your sincere intention and devotion to the task within and can express it through a relaxed and sympathetic outer demeanor, it can be surprisingly how easily negative attitudes and behaviors melt away. It can be surprising how easily negative attitudes and behaviors melt away. It is pointless to attempt reunification while any of the parties are still suffering from emotional chaos. It's a little like trying to hit a bullseye from the other side of a busy freeway, blindfolded. You can stand there forever shooting arrows and never even get close to the mark. But this is the kind of childish nonsense that the ego often proposes when it is scrambling to appear on top of the situation and save face. Forget the face and allow yourself to simply be equal to the situation rather than on top of it. Oh my gosh. So now these are the lines that changed. So my line 2 that has changed. Once it has become obvious that the atmosphere is polluted, the first thing to do is let in some fresh air. Oh my gosh. In human terms, that fresh air is innocence, and the best place to look for it is first within yourself. Oh my God. Every division that we experience starts first within a single individual, and every reunification can start there too. Look to yourself for any attitudes you might be harboring that actually contribute to suspicious alienation and discord, and let them go. And the next line that was a changing line. Sometimes people can get so fixed into an us and them attitude that even the most casual conversations turn into a tennis match. If you can see that this is what is happening now, chances are you're the best person to call off the game and remind everybody what good sportsmanship is all about. This might not be through direct confrontation, but more likely through an act of persuading all the players to join a new game that everybody can appreciate and support. My line 5 is changed. That says, if you are completely at loss as to what to do about an inner or outer war of competing factions, it might be time to retreat to the mountaintop where the air is fresh and you can clear your head. When you come back down, your readiness to embrace a new reality is likely to be contagious. And my top line has changed. It's not always wise to stride into the middle of a street brawl and try to break it up. Have a close look at whether the participants are armed and dangerous before you attempt such a thing. If they are, the better part of wisdom might be to withdraw from the scene and persuade all innocent bystanders to do the same. Do you see how much this is? And we haven't even I didn't even read through this one yet. I need to. Let's see. What did I have? 59. So I had air and water. Is it easy enough to find here? So this one, well, I'll read this on my second one because I have to do the changing. So now, since I have 1, 2, 3, 4 old yangs and yins that need change, because that's 3 things I cast, 3 heads or 3 tails, I'll do the changing line. And all we do is this stays the same. This changes. This stays the same. So that's like that. This. So this changes. This. So like basically my whole thing just changed. So I went from that to that. You see what I did? That's what moving lines mean. You just change it from bottom to top. There was that's my old yang. That means that will be 2 lines right there. Do you see what I did? Okay, so let's see what this new one is. And I'm going to the book. I'm not going to do, so this one's this, and line, ... And this. So now I'm at number 16. So let's see what it is. Euthanism. No, that doesn't say that. Enthusiasm. Oh my gosh. I cracked myself up. So let's see. I'm going to see what it says in this one. Enthusiasm. Where's that at? So here it says delight. That's what this is called. 156. And the first one I had, what was 59, was called dispersion. So that was the same. So now this one's called delight. And then it always has the picture. So all you got to do is match up the picture to make sure. And it is. So delight. Let's see. My leg's falling asleep. Ooh, I like this better because it's all in one area. So my bottom part of my hexagram is earth, and the top part is thunder. And this is my final one. This is the one I had changing lines, so I could read it and see what was it telling me. And this is the final one. That's it. So the bottom hexagram on that, or the first part, is earth, and then thunder on top of that. So let's just look at that in realistic. We live on earth, and then the thunderstorms are on top. That all means something too, but I don't know. I'm not about to even. So name and structure. Delight, so it says you originally meant delight. Today, it also means peace and happiness. Delight is the inverse of the preceding ga, humbleness. Humbleness leads people to delight. Thus, humbleness and delight are complementary. Willem translates you as enthusiasm. Baldfield translated as repose. In this book, I follow the original meaning, delight. Oh my gosh. Sequence of the guy. When one's harvest is great and one can still remain humble, there is sure to be an outburst of delight. Thus, after humbleness, delight follows. The ideograph of this guy is a very old form consisting of two parts. The left portion is the ideograph of you, which means hand out or give something away. There are two hands at the top and a vertical straight line connected to the lower hand, representing the arm. Between the two hands, there is a little object. Taken as a whole, it is a picture of the act of giving and receiving. The right okay, so if anybody watches any of my videos, what am I always talking about? Even yesterday when I made a video about this whole bookshelf I have in my living room, I'm going to give away just as many important books like this. These I'm not giving away. These are going with me to Hawaii. All this whole shelf and this stuff. But the other stuff I love just like I love this stuff. But it needs a home. So by the law of attraction, you have to give and receive, right? Okay. So, oh my gosh, I just cannot believe this is mine. I wasn't even doing this for me. I'm just trying to explain it because I was about to read my son's. I'm just into this whole I Ching, which I'm into everything divination, as you see. Cast coins, whatever. So it says, taken as a whole, it is a picture of the act of giving and receiving. The right portion of the ideograph represents an elephant, Zhang. The elephant is standing upright on two rear legs with the tail touching the ground. The two front legs are held up in the air. The head of the elephant is looking forward with the long trunk curling upward. In the past, there were elephants in the southern part of China, though they no longer exist there. In southern China, elephants were trained to help workers carry heavy things, but in the north, they were trained for the purpose of giving people pleasure and delight. People performed a kind of dance known as the elephant dance, which King Wu was fond of. The two parts of the ideograph together mean delight, enjoyed by oneself or given to others. The structure of this guy is thunder, above, earth, below. Thunder represents action, and earth, submission. These two primary guys standing together symbolize the action of the yang element, followed delightfully by all the yin elements. In ancient China, people believed that the power of thunder had influenced for a distance of 100 li, a Chinese unit of length, designating about 1/3 of a mile, equivalent to the realm of a feudal lord. For this reason, the decision says, favorable to establish feudal lords and mobilize the multitude. Earth is the symbol of a multitude, and establishing feudal lords means gaining assistance. Then it goes into a decision section that says, delight, favorable to establish feudal lords and mobilize the multitude. Commentary of the decision, delight. The firm meets with response. Its will is fulfilled, acting in accord with the time and moving forward. This is delight. Delight, acting in accord with the time and moving forward. it is following the way of heaven and earth, how much more will it be so in establishing feudal lords and mobilizing the multitude? Are you guys even hearing this right now? I can't wait to rewatch my own video because I cannot believe I'm even getting this message. I wasn't even casting I Ching for me because you know what? I'm always doing everything for everybody else. Always. And if I wouldn't have made this video, I like do this for myself. I'm basically thinking to get my own message. They're like, I have to talk to you some kind of way. So I did this just to give an example how to even do I Ching. For who? I don't know. And then, well, really for my son, because I was going to read his I Ching this morning, and I know he'll watch or he'll come in and out. So remember the bottom hexagram? I had a lot of moving lines. Old yangs, old yangs. Then my top hexagram, bottom, or the first one, the first 3 lines, earth, top 3 lines, thunder. So now I'm just reading through it. I just cannot believe. And what this means, my top one means delight. Oh my God. Heaven and earth move in accordance with the time. Therefore, sun and moon do not deviate from their courses, and the 4 seasons do not err. The holy person moves in accordance with the time and situation. Therefore, punishments and penalties become just, and people are genuinely convinced. Great indeed are the time and significance of delight. Thunder comes out of the earth, rising and stirring, an image of delight. In correspondence with this, the ancient king composed music to honor virtue and merit. With ardent eagerness, he offered it to God and shared it with his ancestors. Then it goes into the Tao text. Initial 6, singing out delight. Misfortune, singing out delight. One's will comes to an end. Second, firm as a rock. But I don't have any changing lines because this is my... So did you see what I did with the first one when I was number 59? I read through, because remember this was my first hexagram before, because I had all those moving lines, but you still read it. So you read all through it. And then when you have, like, remember, my line 2, see where I put the little numbers? The line 2, is it upside down? Nope. The line 2, 4, 5, and 6, because you go bottom to top. Line 2, 4, 5, and 6 needed to change. So then I read line 2. See where it says line 2, and then I read that and changed it. And then my new one is the light. So when you read the new one, after you change the lines, which is you make a solid into 2 breaks or a break into 2 solids, I mean, a 1 solid, is number 16. And in this book, it's called Enthusiasm. And now when I read it, since this is my new hexagram, I just read this and this. I don't read the changing lines because this is my thing now. But I just read it from this book because if you watch the beginning of this video, this man is just like, this is it. So let's just look for fun of what it looks like. Now, how you do these, you would just, I would cast these instead of casting my coins. Remember, yin and yang. Remember, heads and tails, or the old yang, 3 heads, old yin, 3 tails. So let's just look at number 16. Of course, they're not in order, but I'll just give you an example. Say if you want me to read yours or whatever, I do it just for fun. But the I Ching, oh my God, like that and feng shui, like yesterday, the books I found. Where's number 16? Okay, so here's my first one before my stuff changed. My first one, the keywords on here are diffuse negativity, restore harmony, circulate, revitalize, dissolve divisions, lighten up. This was my first one I pulled before my lines changed. Look at that. And let me show you the one I got now. Oh my God, I just am, wow. This is what I do. I gotta go to freaking work again tonight. I walked out last night because the people are so freaking petty. 50-something-year-old women. And I hate having to share tips. That's just, I'm not, look at this card. What's wrong with it? Aww. That just means you're, like when I have crystals and my crystals cracked, that just means they're empath. So don't ever throw away a crystal if you crack it, because that just means it's an empath, and you know what an empath is. So, oh my God, look at these pictures. I am doing I Chings all week. I'm about to read all my, I just love it. Okay, so let me find mine. Let me get back focused. Like that could never happen. Okay. Oh my gosh. So, what I am now, not by what I say, but what the Chinese divination tells me, that's what I was. And this is what I am, which is enthusiasm on this card, but in his book, which is Chinese translated straight to English, it's delight. And this one, the keywords are self-expression, inspiring others, self-confidence, totality, success, sharing, a positive response. And I'll show you a picture. Oh my gosh. What is this doing all this for? I thought I was supposed to be doing this. And this is the picture of the car. Can you see her? So I'm pretty sure this video is a good forever, like they all are. But guess what? I feel like I just gave whoever wants to know about I Ching a whole good foundation on I Ching. Remember, I'm a life path 4. So I'm my own freaking student teacher. So anything you see, just cross my path by me. Matter of fact, I didn't even say it this morning. Empty me and me, Father, and fill me with you. Or empty me and me, Source, and fill me with you. Look at me. I just got up and started doing what I wanted. So anyway, enthusiasm, delight. That's my message. And that's I Ching. So I'm gone for now, not forever. And let me see what else I got to do today. Oh, I forgot. Oh, did I even show you guys this? Where is it? Where's my Hawaiian? Okay, I'll just show you that later because that has nothing to do with now. Okay, so gone for now, not forever. I can end it. Aloha.